Hi everyone and welcome to the 8th lecture at Internet Forum. I'm Aina, I'm the course assistant, and I'd like to welcome to the stage our first speaker, Laura Juvonen, who is the Senior Vice President of Strategy at VTT. Oh, you switched, all right. So then I'm gonna welcome to the stage our first speaker, this gentleman who is going to introduce himself right now.
Thank you very much. And I will do that in a second, actually, because we forgot to inform you. Actually, we informed everyone else but you that we are actually switching seats here with Laura. But I started making this presentation for the Internet Forum here, and I'm a security guy, so I usually talk about security. I often talk about mobile communication systems and security, and 5G and security, and etc. This time I took the opportunity and I wanted to actually expand a little bit what I usually talk about, and I actually want to talk about mobile technology. So when I was seeking and searching for photos and pictures to use in this presentation, that what best tells the story about what I'm actually wanting to talk, what best tells the story about this technology, I came across this photo. And when I found this photo, I looked at it, and after that, the working on the slides was much difficult, because actually the photo put tears in my eyes in real. We're watching here this child, a small child, embarking on a train, where the father is standing outside the window and trying to touch the child through the glass, while still at the same time having ability to talk with him over the phone. They both are holding mobile phones in their hands. And I have two children myself. I have two young boys. And just imagining the situation that I'm forced into making the decision that I put my children in a train, and I don't have any certainty if I know where they are going, what's the end destination, and or if when or if ever I will see them again. And that feeling which was just so devastating that looking at this photo is still very difficult for me, actually. At the same time, as it awakes a deep emotion in me looking at the photo and connecting it to my own life and imagining the horrific situation of the people here. It also gives me the feeling of hopefulness and feeling of some level of happiness for the fact that, unlike the people who left Eastern Finland during the World War, these people are still able to keep touch. These people are actually able to still hear and listen and talk to each other. They're able to actually still share the journey, even how hard it is, because they have mobile technology, which they are using. So today, my name is Mikko Karikytö. I'm Chief Product Security Officer at Ericsson. Ericsson does not make mobile phones. Ericsson builds networks mostly and does many other things also. You can find me in most common social media by the first name, last name combination. And as I'm pretty sure that someone in the audience today has a mobile phone with them, I'll ask kindly if you can take one photo at least of me and post it privately over LinkedIn or Twitter, for example, to me. This is a rare opportunity for me. I'm representing a global organization that is working over 180 countries, but today I have a chance to talk actually in Finland, to speak in Finland. And what could be a better place to talk about mobile technology than Finland? Because Finland is actually the #1 country in the world utilizing the mobile data. We are consuming more mobile data than any other nation in the world. It means that we are also a nation or country, a society here, who are best able to exploit the benefits of the mobile communication technology. That is the main topic of my presentation today. So I feel happy about being here. I also will talk about how this technology is something very special. And now, of course, I'm completely biased, and I have a very good awareness of that myself also. But I will still claim that mobile technology is the fastest growing technology ever seen by human. And I will also claim, I promise, that you probably know something that you didn't know about this technology or something that you didn't know about your daily life after this session and after this presentation. There must be at least one detail that you didn't know before, I'm sure. So I'm a relatively trustworthy person. I'm a security guy. I work for a big company. You know my name. I have also been working as a security guard. I have also been working as a security officer in an airport. So you can probably make an assessment that this person is relatively trustworthy, and I can believe him when he claims that this is the fastest growing technology ever. But I will still back my claims with some data points. So first data point comes shortly. These numbers are coming from a Statista paper. I have the link in one of the slides here. You will see it later. It is a collection of data from World Health Organization, GSMA, the GSM Association, and a few other parties who provided data. And I've just collected a few highlights here. But these are the highlights that I think that show and back up my claim about this technology being something special. This is something different. This is something that you didn't understand, you didn't think about before, how different this is actually to almost any other technology there is. First point, 78% of world population has basic sanitization services around them. So these services that kind of, I was thinking, how do I explain it with my Finnish English? I'm just saying that, you know, it's the process where, or the services that kind of separate your ingoing biomass from your outgoing biomass, and hence protecting your health and giving you long life, you know, making sure that we have cleanliness and clean food, and we have systems taking out the already consumed ingredients and, you know, making it a fertilizer or something. 78% of the world population has these services that we, you know, consider standard here in Finland, for example. At the same time, 85% of people have LTE coverage. 85% of people in the world have LTE coverage. LTE, more commonly known among general public, would be 4G. This means that it is more likely that if you pick a random person from all people on the planet, that they will have high bandwidth, high performance mobile broadband connectivity where they can enjoy 4K video than that they can wash their hands safely. I think that's mind-boggling, at least to me. Maybe I'm too biased. In the same way, 90% of world population have drinking water services. So they have ability to have drinking water, firstly. They have ability to have maybe clean drinking water. And if you ask me, my personal opinion would be that 90% is not enough. It's actually devastating that there are 10% who don't have that with them. Still, 94% have at least 3G or better connectivity. You know, some of us still remember 3G. It was before 4G. But it means that they have actually already a mobile data connectivity that they can connect. They can browse internet, they can obtain information, they can share information, they can produce information, they can talk to their relatives, their loved ones, their family, and they can see each other over the mobile connectivity. 94 people, that's more than 90% of the people who have water. What is not so surprising, actually, is that 90% of the people on the planet have electricity. And of course, I mean, in places like Finland, it's kind of standard. You assume you have electricity, we have good lighting here, we have good connections, and everything's working. And when we don't have electricity, it's a really big buck for our life. But I can still relate to the fact that not every society on this planet actually need electricity for their daily life. Maybe they are in a completely different situation. But still, what surprises me also is that 97% of the world population are covered with some kind of mobile network coverage. It means that almost everybody on this planet can have ability to connect with anyone else on this planet. They can share their experiences with their family, they can move remotely to another continent, and they can still keep contact. Almost everyone on this planet have mobile network, while only 90% of the people are covered with electricity. These were some proof points or data points that I think that are proving that something happened with this mobile technology that is different from anything else. It seems to be penetrating more broadly and deeply across all societies, across all areas in our planet, across all people and all citizens of the societies on this planet. It seems to be working. And of course, the background story, why this is working so well, is that there is something called standardization. From the beginning of telecommunications, from the beginning of mobile technology, it was agreed that this is something that we need to standardize certain parts of this technology. We need to agree about protocols, we need to agree about how the networks work and how the networks work together. If you only imagine going back to time when you may have flown over the Atlantic and land there, and then you have to have a different handset so that you can connect to the local network. You don't want to see that kind of world anymore. You want to have your handset or your device or devices, and you want to move and roam, and you want to be able to enjoy the same services as you're used to use at home. That's one ingredient for the success here. If you then look like what has happened with this standardized approach to the mobile communication and telecommunication technology, one factor or one aspect that I think is proving the success again is that how long did it take to achieve 1 billion users? I have an example here. For credit card, every one of us have a credit card. Sometimes they can be a pain and curse, but most of us need a credit card just to subscribe to services or get your Netflix running or whatsoever. You need a credit card. It took 74 years to have 1 billion users for credit cards, if you consider that's a technology. Internet is something that is much more closer to us as a kind of digital natives and people who use the digital services in our daily lives. But the internet also took 16 years to actually reach 1 billion users. And if you remember the 3G I mentioned on one of the previous slides, 3G covered 1 billion in 12 years. So 3G was a little bit faster than internet overall, actually getting to use of 1 billion users. Facebook, I remember when I signed up to Facebook, and shortly after, even my mother was in Facebook, and I was thinking that, so this is now the platform, this is the digital place where absolutely everybody on this planet are, because my mother is there, so everybody else are already on this platform, and this is probably like, the fanciest thing ever. Like, this is where I will be meeting all my friends going forward, until I die. But 4G, the mobile broadband, the actual high-performing that provides you 4K and why not 8K video feeds wherever you are, whenever you are, that took 5 years to get to 1 billion users reach. 5 years versus 12 years. WhatsApp was pretty quick, 7 years. I think it's admirable, and it's an achievement to any platform, any technology to reach 1 billion users in 7 years' time. Just think about that scalability of a company if you can reach 1 billion users in 7 years' time. But still, it's a little bit slower than 4G technology. And think about what 4G technology, to provide it to 1 billion users in the world, what it means. It means that hundreds of companies firstly create the technology, they deploy the technology, they operate the technology, and they keep and maintain the technology so that you can use the services. 5G, probably less than 3 years to get to 1 billion hands. And this is estimated because the statistics that I use in this presentation are already old, as in our industry, everything gets old in a day. But I believe that the latest Ericsson mobility report update actually said that it is likely that the 1 billion subscribers limit is already passed during this year. I'm pretty certain it's already behind us. So we have a technology that has spread across the planet like no other technology, not even water, not even electricity, but this technology has covered the whole globe like nothing else. And it has done it faster than anything else. And at the same time, we have one more aspect that we have to understand to actually really understand the magnificence of this technology platform. So 10 years ago, 2012, 10 years ago, if you paid $100, so now I'm talking about USD, and this is in European context. This statistic is coming from Europe, so EU area. So in Europe, on average, you would have got, with $100, you would have got 14 movie tickets. You would have got 23 Big Macs. I did not choose the statistic. They measured Big Macs. 23 Big Macs or 65 liters of diesel. 65 liters of diesel is, I would say that it's already a larger SUV or a family car that could take 65 liters of diesel on a tank, and you would probably do something like 1,200 kilometers with that. 10 years ago, you got this with $100 approximately. And that was the same money that you would have to have spent on 1 gigabyte of mobile data. So if you consumed 1 gigabyte, just think about sharing pictures and posting them to Instagram if it existed then and whatnot. You would have spent 1 gigabyte of traffic over mobile, and it would have costed the same as any of these three. And then if we fast forward 10 years and we come today, so with the same 1 gigabyte worth is averaging in Europe $2.6, which means that you can barely get 1 liter of diesel with that same money. So you can see how this technology, even if it has evolved in capacity and capability and the performance and security and privacy, but at the same time it has spread across the world, it has gotten to every person's reach, and it has also become cheaper than ever before. And nothing is saying that this development is going backwards from where we are now. And that's also why we talk about future here. How does it touch our lives? I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. Like all of you have your handsets in your pockets, and then you have a few other devices that you either tether using that handset or the phone, or then you have a few pads and tablets and whatnot. So of course it touches our lives. It touches our lives in multiple ways. You have it on the go, you have it in every aspect of your life. You probably also have some smart watch or something else that you're measuring your sleep and your sports activities that syncs through your mobile phone and goes over the network to the cloud and gives you some intelligent statistics about your life and improving your life or just making you feel bad. But it also connects us at work. And like this lady in the picture, not only at work, but actually on the go. So when we're working on the go, we can actually keep working wherever we are because of the mobile network technology and the mobile technology, this whole ecosystem. I mean, the handsets, the network, the standards, the applications, the services on top of that, that's the mobile technology. And actually, during the pandemic and shortly after the beginning, of course, there were a lot of particularities about how we handle that. But one thing that happened, and I saw that in my colleagues, was also that some of them actually had the privilege of something that is very natural in Finland, to have a summer house or summer cottage where they could go. And some of them actually spent months just at the summer cottage and working from there, because the all infrastructure you need for doing your work in this digital environment that we work at is to have your phone for connectivity and your laptop for office applications. And then you need some electricity, of course. But actually those devices are not consuming too much, so you would even do with a big battery for a few weeks. So this technology is actually allowing us to work anywhere. And it's allowing us to keep connected wherever we go and giving us the freedom to choose what kind of environment would we like to see around us when we work. And it's also there when we want to win. And I'm using this saying here because it is really the platform that is giving us majority of the gaming. When I say majority of the gaming experiences, I'm of course talking about the fact that gaming industry. Now, there I don't have a statistic to back it up, but you can Google it. But the gaming industry is said to be now larger than movie, music, and book industry together. And so that gaming industry is large, it's huge, it's growing fast. And 75% of gaming industry is mobile games. Mobile games. Time spent on games is mobile games, and revenues on games is on mobile games. Just in Finnish context, of course, we just had the tax day a few weeks ago. Biggest taxpayers in Finland are mobile game makers, etc. And we have this technology when we relax. Big portion of mobile data still today, and it's growing, I presume, is video on demand. So we are really, the humans have become something that we really want to get our favorite content wherever we are, at whenever we are, and we want to enjoy it on a high resolution screen, even smaller, big. And this is exactly what the network is providing us. I'm myself a gamer, so I don't play only mobile games, but I actually play kind of high demanding or performance demanding PC games, and somewhat also fast reaction demanding. So it's of course shifting as I come older. I'm more interested about games that don't need so much fast reactions. But I tested today, before I came here, I tested at home, my 5G connection on my phone. I left the phone there, so I can show it. But this is the screenshot. So at home, I can get 800 megs down and 100 megs up on my 5G handset. So I have no reason to be stressed about if my fiber connection or if my cable connection is providing me good gaming experience, because I can actually just connect my phone with the USB to the laptop or the gaming rig, and I can continue playing whatever happens. So what's happened now, and I still remember it like yesterday, that mobile connection used to be something of like you treated it as best effort, because it was a little bit too slow, it was a little bit unreliable for these high demanding tasks anyway. But now it's fast, it's performing well, it's high performing, it is reliable, and actually there's no difference for me anymore. Do I have a fiber or do I have 5G? And that's exactly the reason why this technology is now being used also not only for leisure and for entertainment, but this technology is actually deployed for public safety, mission critical, business critical processes. So as you may know or not, that in Finland we have our erillisverkot Virve 2.0, the public safety network is 4G, 5G. So it's this 3GPP standardized 4G, 5G network technology deployed for the most sensitive and confidential and I would say most security and privacy concerned processes when it comes to communication. Having firefighters to be able to coordinate and police and border control being able to coordinate and keep us safe and keep the society stable is now also running that same technology as we are using whenever we are looking at YouTube videos on our handset. What's the reason? Well, the reason is because this technology has evolved from what it used to be and what was kind of the entry point, that it was just connecting people and connecting individuals, now to something that is actually so reliable, robust, resilient, high-performing, secure and privacy respective that it can actually be deployed into most demanding use cases. As an example, we also deploy the 5G network technology in the factories where robots are connected with this technology that used to be connected with fibers and cables. And you can just imagine the freedom of choice of design and factory layout and process layout and architecture that you can have after you realize that you're not dependent on those cables like you used to be. But when you have something that has a great value, like this mobile technology has a great value for the society and for us and for businesses also. Let's just stop for a moment and think about what all businesses, and maybe you can have it in back of your head, but what all businesses or what all industries were created because this mobile technology exists. Think about how much use would you have for Google Maps if you didn't have it on your mobile? How much use would you have for your Uber or your ride sharing if you didn't have it on your mobile, or your Volt or Foodora or DoorDash or whatever? They are all businesses and industries that are created because you have suddenly an ability to connect in global scale, but ability to connect from a high-performing device over high-performing, always up connectivity wherever you are. So wherever you are, whenever you are, you're always able to connect. All these businesses and industries are created by great innovation, but enabled by this technology. But this value is also understood by the bad. So we do in Ericsson, I started my career in product security incident response team PSERT. And there what we do is that we coordinate a lot of software vulnerabilities, like these weaknesses that we find in software, and then we need to resolve them before, and then have fixes going into the networks. But we also do investigate incidents, breaches, all kinds of malicious activities towards networks. And few things are always the same when it comes to, well, in my experience, I only have experience from mobile networks, so I haven't investigated like bank fraud or so, but I have investigated mobile network breaches. It's about money, it's about information, and it's about the service disruption. It's about the actual having the service up for you, having the service running. So money is a clear motivator. Mobile, you understand it that firstly you are paying for your subscription, you're paying for the service, and there are a lot of business related to the keeping you connected. And there are always people who are trying to abuse this and bypass the charging, bypass the billing, and trying to use these services for free. But then there are those aspects also that you're maybe using applications or using services that the attackers are interested in breaking in and actually stealing your money or making you pay for their goods and whatever. Information is a big part. And mobile networks are, of course, interesting target for more advanced, persistent threat and kind of highly motivated and highly resourceful actors, threat actors, because mobile network has something that no other platform in same scale has, because it's called mobile network. So it means that it needs to know you wherever you are. So it always needs to know, for example, your location. So it may be handy to a threat actor, a party, to actually find out where a certain VIP, for example, is residing. So of course, these type of attacks are always something that a very resourceful and well-motivated, highly motivated actors will be continuing to look for loopholes in these networks. And then there's the service disruption. It is of course clear that there are situations that some threat actors want to just shut you out of the network, or shut the whole city out of the network, or whole country momentarily out of the network, just so that they can, for example, proceed with their military actions or whatever other they have in mind. So these are kind of the motivators, money, information, and the service disruption often that come up again and again. Some examples about some breaches and attacks this year that we have seen in different parts of the world that are somehow related to mobile technology and networks. Some of them are clearly targeting the networks itself or the mobile users, and some of them are a little bit more like adjacent or related to them. So you can see that in these examples, for example, there are examples where a threat actor is disabling the end user device, the modem, for example, the satellite modem, and just bricking them with a faulty software update or malicious software update. But there are also situations where the threat actors are breaching not so much the mobile network, the network where your phone connects to and what kind of makes all the switching and coordination happen, but actually to the business processes of the service provider, the company who's running this for you, a telecom operator. So you could actually claim what kind of telecom hack is that at all? That's just an enterprise hack of a company that happens to be a telecom service provider also. But this is maybe exemplifying is that yes, there's a lot of threat actors who want to also be able to break into these networks, and sometimes, unfortunately, they may be successful. But what is, I think, most important to understand here is that now this picture gives you a very dark image of the reality for telecommunications, and oh my, that this is so risk prone area, and do I dare to use my connection at all anymore? But trust me, the attackers always go, like water, where there's the least resistance. I can guarantee you that this technology is not the easiest to attack. This is not the most simple situation as an attacker to target. It's much easier to send 100,000 emails to random people and have one or two of them click on that link. It's much more trivial than breaching the telecom network. I will show you a few reasons why. Firstly, the telecom technology is secure by design. There are a few distinct features that I want to cover before my time runs out, why telecom technology is a little bit special. So firstly, the network itself is built from these planes, these layers. You have user plane, the actual traffic that you consume and produce and transfer over the network. Then you have the control plane where the signaling happens. And then you have OFM plane, the operations and maintenance, where actually the engineers and the operator are actually changing the configuration and changing the network 24/7. So it doesn't really awake a lot of thoughts in you if you don't think about it carefully. But it means also that the traffic that you produce and consume is actually very well separated from all the other traffic that goes in different directions in that network. One example, when you connect to a random local Wi-Fi access point in a cafe or airport or in a hotel, there's a chance that the device that you're connecting to looks something like this. Now, this is a picture from my home. This is one of the legacy devices I picked up for the photo. And there's a high likelihood that this, when you connect to it and you're sitting there with your coffee, you have your cappuccino and you're sitting down in the cafe and considering that should I connect to the free Wi-Fi there is for me, or should I just keep connecting to the mobile network? So you're making a decision there. And one thing that you don't necessarily consider is that, and now we need to establish first that there's nothing bad security in Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi security is good. It's really strong. It's equally strong and with mobile network protocols. I'm not arguing at all on that. But what you're deciding is that do you add one party that you may trust or not into the equation, or do you just keep your connection to the service provider? Because this may be actually set up and maintained by barista. And they may be really good at making cappuccinos for you, but they are not necessarily network engineers, and they are not necessarily security pros who know exactly how to run and operate the network. But this, again, is the mobile network. And this is a highly complex system that requires hundreds or if thousands of people to maintain, operate, and run for the scale. And now, again, we have in mobile networks, we have an expectation of 5 nines, means that the network needs to be up 99.999% of the time. You can calculate that, how many minutes it leaves you yearly that you can have downtime in the network. That Wi-Fi API I have at home, it has downtime every week. It has downtime because we have so many devices at home, and when kids keep connecting there and watching high definition video, it just sometimes overheats, and then I need to restart it. This network cannot go down. It has to work always, and in every circumstance. It has to serve you when you have the worst emergency in your life. This network will always have to serve you. It's a different standard of robustness and resilience, and it's operated by highly trained professionals. I wanted to put the Liam Neeson meme here, saying that, I have a very particular skills that are gathered over a very long career. This is exactly what these guys have in network management and network design and architecture. It's very different than having the barista who is rebooting the Wi-Fi API every now and then just to keep it up and running. And then we have security identity and hardware. So, for example, in Ericsson's case, more than 10 years already, we have had hardware identity modules and not identity modules exactly, but hardware key modules in every base station. Those things that you see in the towers and rooftops and maybe bus stops and in your hypermarkets, the devices where your phone connects over the radio interface, they have hardware security there so that they always know that this is an Ericsson provided radio base station and it's connecting, it's a legitimate product and it's connecting to the network with that knowledge of being authentic Ericsson device, for example. And it also has software signing, so even if you would get your hands and get hold on that base station and you would think that I'm a skilled hacker, I will just insert my own firmware there and boot it up and do dirty stuff to all the subscribers who are connected to this base station. Bad luck, it requires software signing to boot, so it's impossible to do like that. And without going to too many technical details, because I think that we could dive way too deep there, I want to show one more technical physical hardware thing here. SIM card. I don't know how many of you spend your days thinking about how great things SIM cards are or how they have made your life better, like I do, but I don't expect that from all you others. But the fact is that this is actually a hardware, plastic, metallic, smart device that holds keys, your secret private keys, and you insert that to the device to be able to utilize the services of the network. How many other smart devices you have at home where you actually take physical keys, insert them in before you take them into use? None. Because all the others just connect randomly to the local Wi-Fi and you give it the password and then you're connected and happy. You have absolutely no trust that the keys that are stored in the device, how that authenticates to the network and the services are secure and only known by you. So think about that. It's again, I'm not saying that SIM card is the ultimate security solution, but it's telling you something about the mindset, how this technology from the beginning was created, that we need to have this hard, very well protected and difficult to crack security module that is physical. Think about it, phishing, email, getting someone click a link, expose their password. How simple is that compared to stealing someone's phone and then knowing the PIN codes and then being able to abuse the SIM card and the credentials in the SIM card? It's much, much, much more difficult. And what makes it even better? 5G is actually fixing many or improving many of those characteristics of telecommunication network that already made it secure, but is making it even more secure. Improved subscriber authentication, enhanced subscriber privacy, and many other features are just making some of the threat scenarios that we used to have in legacy networks, just making them either completely impossible or super hard for a threat actor to actually attack. And I want to end my presentation shortly because I know I can get excited and I can spend so much time on this. I just want to show a couple of things for more. Few things, not only the connectivity, but few technologies, display technology, battery technology, few other technologies together made it so that when 4G came into the picture, we started having devices that actually provided us this quality of service and quality of life and made us utilize all the services that we know today. Think about all these technologies that are in combination and supporting and reinforcing each other. IoT, lots of sensors and actuators around the world in different use cases, producing data that you can analyze and learn more about your environment, how the concrete is drying in your walls, etc. And then AI massaging that data and coming up with conclusions that you couldn't even imagine before, so that you can optimize your processes or make your life better, and cloud and edge to actually really do the calculations for you, and all these other parts here. And we could go to many more details in technology. So what we're going to see in the future now, going forward now, 5G is deployed now. We have 1 billion subscribers today, and we will have many, many more. Think about the opportunity and possibilities with these combinational forces of these technologies when they will combine. We will have Internet of Senses. We already now have proof of concepts of this remote tasting and feeling and haptic and whatnot. And we will have connected, sustainable world. And I think it would be another lecture to talk about all these opportunities that the connectivity and the other technologies as they progress would be. But I want to leave you with one thing. And it's going back to this picture again and thinking about this small child separated from their parents. At least what I feel really, really happy about is that they can keep connected. And then I have a wild imagination. So I'm also thinking that all those business cases and all those wealth and growth that was created by having 3G and 4G and coming all this innovation about these services that we use every day in our lives, what will be invented with 5G and 6G? Maybe this kid is one of those people who comes up with that idea that, you know, is coming from his or her experiences of this evacuation and the journey and getting to schools and educated and finding these endless opportunities of the connectivity and the technologies around it. So what can come out of that? At least it makes me much more hopeful and have hopefulness than before. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the interesting lecture. We have some questions here online. The first question is, do you expect 5G coverage to be available everywhere?
Well, that is actually the question often that we should ask for the policymakers also and governments, because one strong point of the mobile communication technology is also that the spectrum, the radio frequencies that you can deploy these services on, they are under a government control. So you need to have spectrum as a communication service provider. You need to have a spectrum to deploy your services. So governments should act as fast as possible to give spectrum to these operators so that they can deploy these services. Because as we can see in Finland, for example, we have a good situation with the services. And when the services get deployed, the endless opportunities with these new business cases and use cases are deployed. I believe that we will see a world where that will be near the 97%.
All right. The next one is currently one of the key risks for critical users is the power resilience of base stations. The regulation requires power backup between 15 minutes and 3 hours. The movement to harvest the promise of 5G requires uninterrupted availability. How should this be addressed?
I think that so that's a very practical and tangible issue, and I know of situations, and when you go out of the, now this was probably a Finnish example with the regulation, local regulation, but when you actually go out of Finland and start to going, mountain sites in very extreme environments, all the diesel aggregates and all that, running there, keeping the base station. There may not even be an electricity network at all to the base station, but it's always running with diesel, for example. So there are different situations. I think that the answer is found in one of those slides where we had this some of these other technologies. If I just take so much back that I can take it here, because alternative energy tech. Now there, all of us know, we have seen in few years, for example, just the power banks, for example, getting smaller and smaller, and all of us are carrying one, just because we can't survive if our phone dies on a busy day. So we have these power banks. So it's just an example of how the battery technology, for example, as one mode of energy tech is developing, as well as solar power and others. I think that it will be solved over time when these combining forces of these developing technologies are fixing it for us. I have no doubt.
All right. And the last question from online is, from an availability perspective, what is more likely to cause an interruption to a network? Human error, cyber attack, or a nature-caused problem?
So there is actually a good amount of statistics on those. One of them in Europe, one of the most meaningful reports comes from ENISA, the EU cybersecurity department. And there, if now I don't have it here and I don't remember it well on top of my head, but I think that kind of software vulnerabilities were cause of 7% of the downtime or the issues or the incidents in the networks in Europe. And then most issues are caused by human mistake or kind of excavators, for example, people digging holes, and you may pull the power cable or so. So it's quite rudimentary and quite tangible issues often that lead into those downtime situations.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions here in the audience? If not, then I'd like to thank you, Mikko, again for the interesting lecture, and welcome to our actual second speaker here, Laura. Thank you.
Thanks. Really happy to be here. I'm actually part of Aalto's alumni. Did my PhD here in computational physics. And since then I've been working in the interface between science, technologies, industry, growth companies, and the society at large, I could say. What Mikko there was speaking about is certainly exponential. And today I'll have even a bit broader view now on exponential technologies. From a perhaps a bit more global perspective and a future perspective. And I'll also be talking about hope. Today, the world is really facing perhaps the biggest challenges that we've seen in history. Climate change, loss of biodiversity, we have wars going on. It's quite easy to actually start thinking about that. Is there hope? Is there really hope? And where does the hope rise from? We did a study this fall, VTT, along with a company called Swan Lake Strategy, to look at the operating environment where we currently are. So this is from a perspective of a research organization focusing on novel technologies to solve global challenges. And the outcome of this year's analysis was really here, that we're off the scale. The things that are happening currently in the world, they are very complex. There's a lot that was completely unexpected. People didn't see it coming. And currently, our visibility to what's going to happen in the world next is very hazy. It's very hard to predict what we're facing. So at a time like this, I would say it's more important than ever to spend some time looking at the future, of understanding what is actually happening, thinking about different scenarios, and how can we actually influence, and what is influencing the development. In our analysis, we came up with these 4 main areas in which we basically use to identify questions that we should be thinking about. And I'll now use this to sort of frame our discussion on exponential technologies. The first one, game is on. This is, of course, related to geopolitics and what's happening in the world. And it means also that actually, even as a small country like Finland, we don't have the opportunity to opt out from this game. We are in this game as well. And it's, of course, a large international game involving Russia, China, US, basically all countries in the world. And it is linking also to competition on critical technologies, raw materials, core infrastructure, and so on. And at the same time, we're seeing a major growth in distrust. This means that there is not trust between individuals, there's not trust between nations. And this distrust impacts many things: free flow of investments, transfer of knowledge, collaboration, and so forth. It's like in a time of crisis, everyone wants to survive. Then redefining work. Okay, this is something that actually began already well before COVID. And I won't go into details of this because that's quite a lot discussed. But what we perhaps are not still seeing quite enough is that we are facing really a global war for talent. That's quite obvious now, and it is a linking to the other areas. So people actually make quite a big difference in the game overall. And then finally, security really rules when rules are out and values are in a flux. So people have a need for a sense of safety. And currently we have many factors that are rocking really the foundations: inflation, war, pandemic, climate change, loss of biodiversity. All of these are really rocking our security and sense of safety. So when all of this is happening, I'll now be talking about the role of technologies in this context. And what's happening in the development of new technology is that we're now moving from bits from the digital world, which will keep on developing, but we're also moving to atoms. I'll come back to that. So exponential technologies mean technologies that have the power to cause real paradigm shifts. They can lead to systemic changes in the way our societies function. They can have an impact on the whole planet. Mikko was just describing in the previous one about really staggering features about the reach of mobile technologies. That's an example of a technology that does have an impact on the whole planet and how our societies function. And currently we are actually approaching several tipping points now. These are such points that may cause our living environment to change fundamentally and permanently. So it's quite a good time, I believe, now to actually ask this question that what kind of a future do we actually want? It's a question that we need to answer if we want to have an influence on the future. So I'll now go into three examples of exponential and disruptive technologies. And I'll have sort of a viewpoint from Finland's perspective, because often we talk about these in the context of very global development, and it feels that, okay, we are here, we are doing this small bit, how can we influence anything? Something that I may say might seem even idealistic or too hopeful or something, but please bear in mind that I am now describing something that is possible or may be possible. It is one scenario, and I want to point out that we do have choices, we can influence, and these technologies will change things in a fundamental way. It is now a question also that how do we use these technologies? How does the development happen? First one is synthetic biology. This means that we use living cells to produce chemicals, materials, or food, for example. So it's actually microbial cells that we are using to produce, for example, silk, egg white, or biodegradable bioplastic. So I'll take food production as an example. in the future, we will be using microbes to produce ingredients for food production. For example, egg white without chickens, but it's still the same thing, the same egg white that you actually get from chickens, you can produce using microbes. Or milk protein without cows, but it's still the same milk protein. And this way to produce food using synthetic biology is called cellular agriculture. The problem, of course, here behind is that we have a really growing global population. It's one question, how do we solve that? But we need food for the people, and we need way more sustainable ways to produce the food than we currently are using. So I'm not saying that this will change all of food production, but it can be part of a major solution how we can actually reduce the burden that food production has on the planet. This is really scalable. Basically, you have bioreactors, and you can put these in many different places. You can stack them up vertically, you can free up land and return that to its natural state. Basically, it's a way to free food production from using animals and land. So it's a completely novel way. And why would this make actually sense in Finland? Is that we do have really high-level biotech expertise, infrastructure. We do have open-minded consumers and actually broad scientific knowledge base on production of both cell-based and microbe-based ingredients. And it's not science fiction. It's actually reality happening as we speak. This is an example of a startup company, Onego Bio. They are commercializing egg white production without chickens. So you can eat that stuff today. It's fairly expensive, but that's what always happens when you scale exponential technologies, that the price will come down. Second example of exponential technologies is quantum. That is a new era of computing. We will have completely new tools to solve really major challenges. For example, in medicine, in reducing emissions to industrial logistic chains. And the computing power that quantum technologies can achieve will far surpass what current supercomputers are doing. It is another era of computing, and it will actually be a reality, even mainstream by 2030. 2030 is not that far away. And currently we don't really know what are all the possibilities where quantum technologies can be used, but it's quite certain that it will change many things. So that's really the great leap in computing after Moore's law. It's not that the quantum computers would just replace all current computers. You can't use them in exactly the same way, but they will add a whole world of possibilities that go beyond current computing. For example, something we can immediately see is modeling complex molecules material systems. That's what I actually did my PhD on about 20 years ago, was modeling materials. And what I got excited about it was that, wow, you can actually do all the experiments with a computer, and you can do tons of experiments. You could even predict what's going to happen and then go into the actual experiments when you come up with something that's promising. Well, that will speed up the way materials development is done in a tremendous way. And it's funny that it's actually just today we're entering the stage where materials development using computation is reaching the limit where it's starting to affect a whole lot the reality. And basically what quantum technology will do is to open up a whole world that we cannot access today, because, for example, materials on an atom scale or biological systems are extremely complex. So these perhaps are only the first opportunities that we see, that these are perhaps the first application areas of quantum technology. And yet we cannot see all the possibilities, only a small scratch of them yet. And what is interesting is that we actually have a world-class quantum expertise hub in Finland. It's actually right next door in Micronova, in the area here. It's originates really from the great scientific work that's been done at Aalto University, especially in low temperature physics for a long time. Then we have really good expertise in electronics, superconducting circuits, sensors. Now there was just this time frame, and we were actually able to react here in Finland. We found that will to invest and go into this area, and we are currently building a computer, and the first one is functioning. It's 5 qubits, being extended to 20 qubits and then to 50. This is right next door. You can see it there. The big cylinder is actually for cooling it, and the quantum computer itself is really small. And now the computing with this one, with the quantum computer, has begun. It's connected actually to supercomputer Lumi, and you can access, and Finnish researchers can now start actually testing quantum computing with the real computer as we speak. Then the third example, I already said a little bit about new materials, but I think this is something that's actually not so often understood, how big a role materials will play in the future. For example, we're currently talking a lot about energy crisis. But what we're heading towards is that we can foresee that energy, that's solvable. But we are actually, many of the challenges that we are facing, they come down to material challenges, that we might need to come up with new material solutions for very many purposes. And what's interesting is that now we are entering an era where we can really start designing new materials starting from atoms, molecules, so the atomic scale. And like I said, we can start using computers, modeling. It's called virtual materials design to speed up new materials development exponentially. And I think one of the biggest areas where this will have an impact is that we really cannot reach circularity, sustainability in the world unless we have material solutions that are fit for purpose that are possible to actually circulate, get the materials back, and that are functional, efficient. So this is really a huge area. Basically, I already told you that the thing is that until basically now, we have been doing a lot of materials development using a so-called trial and error method. We will have an opportunity to take this in a completely new way using the computers. This is also true for example, for medicine. Like had an interesting discussion some time ago with a technology director from a large pharmaceutical company, and what he said was that, you know, all easy medicines have been invented. That all medication that's based on easy molecular structure or something like, they've been invented basically. So currently what they are doing already is using modeling, molecular scale modeling, to come up with alternatives for medicine. And that's already used there to a large scale. And we will see similar in many areas of materials development. So some ideas how to apply. So definitely the circularity, sustainable materials, then digitally designed, could call them super materials that are really fit for purpose, sort of designed for performance, and speeding all of this up a lot. And this is also a really interesting area of expertise in Finland, that we have really in-depth material science, engineering expertise, also modeling, computational physics expertise. And this is an area that really does need quite interdisciplinary collaboration, also involving businesses, and work all the way from basic science to applied science, then commercializing it. But I think this is also one of the strengths of Finland, that we do have these cross-linking networks and ability to work together. And some examples of what's actually coming up. We have quite interesting startups that have appeared just in recent years in this front of sort of materials technology. For example, Spinnova, they are really transforming and have the ability to transform the way textiles are manufactured globally. It means it's possible to make textile fiber out of wood or waste. Infinity Fiber companies also in textiles, they have the technology to turn actually used textiles, trash textiles, into really premium fiber that can be like raw material again. And Olefy Technologies is really has a technology that can serve as the first truly feasible technology for plastics recycling at industrial scale. Currently, it's really hard to actually recycle plastics effectively, and only a very small fraction of plastics is recycled. So there are really interesting companies that are doing this. And those were examples. We have interesting spearhead expertise in several areas of technologies. These are headlines. It doesn't mean that Finland as a small country would cover it all. We have spearheads in these areas, and there is also a published vision paper that's been done by VTT and together with universities that it gives an overview of what's happening actually in these technology fields and and also the perspective of where do we have that sort of spearhead expertise to act also globally. Following those examples, I will now go into a little bit the final so what part. What can we actually do to influence the kind of a world that we see and we want to see in the future? So the term deep tech, first of all, means startups, growth companies, commercializing and scaling scientific breakthroughs to enable really unique solutions to global scale challenges. And if I compare deep tech companies to any other startups, I'd say this is way much more difficult, often way much more capital intensive, and requires way much more expertise and special teams. But actually this whole Helsinki region is a globally interesting hub for startups and deep techs. Something perhaps not noted is that both Aalto and VTT are in top 10 in Europe if you look at a deep tech funding that spin-outs have received. Of course, those numbers are still fairly small, but this is growing, and we are starting to see way larger numbers also by quite interesting deep tech companies that they are receiving global funding, and yet the foundation where they're working from is here. So actually what I'd like to see is if we could sort of bring together also this scientific field, research field, and bring that closer to this startup deep tech community, I really believe that we can have global impact and do meaningful things and actually be in the position to impact the future that we want to be building. And I'll now go a little bit back to where I started from. What is the world currently looking at? The global game, distrust, security issues. Actually, to create something new, meaningful innovations, you need diversity, dialogue, and ability to work together. It's even a scientifically proven fact that innovations, the amount of innovations, innovativeness increases when you have more diversity. But diversity isn't enough alone. It has to go together with trust and psychological safety. It's the people who come up with the new solutions. And it is quite surprising that it really does play a role whether there is trust between people and psychological safety for the people to work together. So I'm saying that could this be something that's actually our asset, our special asset, even in the global game, that we really do build on trust, values, and our people. We have to find ways, of course, to do this globally and collaborate globally, but it all starts from having this here. Then technologies alone will not solve challenges. We need to make also political decisions, investments that actually play a great role in defining the paths through which the world will develop. And Finland is currently about to make historically important decisions. R&D is never the key topic in elections or political speeches, but perhaps now, in this situation, among all these crises, the decision makers in this country have realized that we are reaching those tipping points, and it's actually crucially important that we do something. And we have set here now a national goal to increase our R&D investments to 4% of GDP. We're currently below 3%. And there's currently a special R&D law that is in the parliament currently. And if that law is passed, it says that Finland would increase our R&D, public R&D expenditure by 1.8 billion euros more than we are currently using by 2030. It means 260 million more each year. And our companies would need to double that. So they need to increase their R&D investments by about 500 million every year until 2030 to reach the 4% of GDP. But I believe this is actually fundamentally important to thinking about what our role, how are we going to do as a nation in the future, that we invest in our ability to create innovations, we share risk, we connect the players, and we work globally. And now that we are entering this era in which geopolitics, industrial policy, and security are connected globally, I also believe that Finland should seek positioning with a strong technology profile, and we should try to aim and influence internationally based on this expertise, based on our values. In the previous speech, Mikko was telling that, for example, the standardization has played a great role regarding the mobile technologies and how they are now used internationally. And Finnish people have played a great role in that standardization work globally. So certainly we can influence things globally. And I think this is definitely the area where we have spearhead abilities. So I really believe that actually the hope arises from action. Action is putting your expertise there to working with people who have different expertise from yours, reaching that diversity. And indeed, now it is a time for action. So thanks a lot for joining today.
Thank you for the lecture. Does anybody here have any questions? If not, then I'd like to thank you again for the lecture here. And we will see you next week for the last lecture of Internet Forum. Thank you for attending.